Reverend Larkin Rose.
I've learned the hard way that a lot of people really cannot grasp satire and sarcasm. So I'm going to start with a disclaimer here. When I was getting ready to do what I'm about to do, I had two main concerns. The first was that I thought some people might be truly offended who really don't need to be, who really shouldn't be. My second concern was that some people wouldn't be offended when they totally should be. We read now from the Gospel according to government, first book of Politicians, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning there was chaos and mayhem, and people were as wild beasts, and there was great wailing and gnashing of teeth throughout the land. Then it came to pass that politicians came down out of heaven, shining in glory, and spoke unto the people, saying, We are the Lord thy government, and we have decided to bless you with our presence, so that we may save you from your sins. Obey our commandments, pay tribute unto us, and salvation shall be yours. For without us, you are but stupid, violent animals, and only through our benevolent domination of you shall ye be transformed into a civilized and prosperous people. And the people wondered at the words of the politicians and were sorely afraid. But the politicians said unto them, Fear not. If you will only blindly obey the God-called government and mindlessly comply with our every whim, then you shall be blessed. But any who disobey our commands, the heathens and criminals who think for themselves, being evil in our sight, shall be cast into prison and banished from the collectivist authoritarian paradise we shall create. So cast aside your individual judgment, your free will, your conscience, and your moral codes, and follow us, the high priests of government, without thought or question. The foolish man builds his house upon consensus, cooperation, and voluntary interaction. But the wise man builds his house upon political promises, state coercion, and the lust for power. Free will, self-determination, and peaceful coexistence are the devil's work and lead only to fire and brimstone, suffering and torment. But blind obedience, unthinking loyalty, and unwavering subservience are the path to salvation. You have heard that it hath been said, Love your neighbor and do unto others as you would have done unto you. But we, the politicians, say unto you, Pray for the incarceration or extermination of those who are not like you. But pray also for your neighbors to be taxed and regulated. Pray for your friends to be controlled and enslaved. Devote your heart and soul to the rituals of politics, so that we, the high priests of government, may dominate all of mankind for its own good. Only then shall you have everlasting peace. We are the Lord thy government, and here are our commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before government. Thou shalt follow no moral codes and no value systems above the arbitrary whims of the politicians. Thou shalt not take the name of government in vain or speak against us, the high priests of state. For those who do are sinners, criminals, and terrorists in our eyes, and shall be wiped from the face of the earth. Remember election day to keep it holy. Judge not the politicians or their mercenaries, lest ye be put on the no-fly list. Honor thy congressman and thy senator, that their reign may be long upon the land which the Lord thy government has taken from thee. Thou shalt murder by voting for those who engage in perpetual warmongering. Thou shalt kill whenever government commands it, and the killing shall be called national defense, serving one's country and spreading democracy. No greater love hath a man than this, that a man will go halfway around the world to murder complete strangers because we told him to. Thou shalt steal by voting for your neighbors to be taxed, and thou shalt hate and persecute any who resist. Thou shalt covet thy neighbor's income, and his car, and his house, and everything that is thy neighbor's. Thou shalt beg the Lord thy government to take these things from thy neighbor, and give them unto thee.
And the hoe.
Verily we say unto you, it is greedy and selfish to keep what you have earned, but noble and virtuous to ask us to forcibly take what your neighbor has earned. Thou shalt bear false witness by calling thieves and robbers public servants, by calling usurpers and tyrants leaders and representatives, and by calling those who advocate liberty for all criminals and terrorists. Blessed are the blindly obedient, for the politicians shall reward them. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst after power, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the voters, for they shall legitimize tyranny and oppression. Blessed are the bankers, for they shall embezzle the earth. Blessed are the jackbooted thugs, for they shall get away with murder. Blessed are the corrupt in heart, for they shall receive power. Blessed are the warmongers, for they shall imagine themselves to be gods. Blessed are they who have persecuted the innocent for the politicians' sake, for they shall be promoted. And cursed are the heathens and extremists who speak out against our tyranny, who encourage you to question authority, and who instruct you to disobey immoral commands. We, the politicians, say unto you, worship those who insult and exploit you, bow to those who extort and oppress you, and vote for those who despitefully use you and persecute you. Here ends our reading from the first book of Politicians, from the Gospel according to Government.
Now, this is Robert Firestone from the flyover state of West Virginia, and that is to Joe and his new hoe. We understand, been understanding for a long time, what you are, what you represent. Don't know how any more easier to get it to you. I don't know sign language. I just know a few signs. Peace. The new piece is peace and a little piece on the side. And to most of the politicians out there, you know what that means. I don't see this circus coming to an end anytime soon. I hope that this video played out like it was supposed to and clear, and this individual that I just showed you, the ones that don't know, that's Larken Rose. He's on YouTube. People ought to go look him up. Pay attention to what he's trying to have y'all understand. Okay, because he's been on both sides of this game, this story that we keep playing around in. It's no good for you, me, or anybody. And for us to finally start realizing these things, the Q movements are probably a good thing. Trump, definitely a good thing. But the thing of it is, it's the same old song and dance from Aerosmith, to tell you that. And even though Steven Tyler may be involved in a lot of this satanic bullshit too, his name was on a bunch of lists. I'm just kind of getting fed up, but I can't keep my head out of what's going on, because if I feel like I do, I spent so many years of not paying attention. I feel like somehow that I allowed some of this to creep in on me, even though politicians or car salesmen with their brains knocked out. Okay, they run around with all these accreditations on the fucking walls. The educational systems are one of our biggest enemies. Uh, so is our religious system. That's another big enemy. And we keep marching forward in all this shit. Um, all of us want change. All of us want the same thing in life that I can. I mean, I don't see how nobody wouldn't want uh, a good job, no taxes, no aggravation from any kind of authorities other than you out here raping or killing somebody. That's the only damn time that they should be involved. Any other time, they shouldn't be involved. And if you look at the laws and history of these laws that's been dedicated to multi-story libraries, okay, if you go back to the common sense and the common law, like I said, other than murder, that should be it, period. Somebody trying to physically hurt someone, yeah, murder. Uh, Other than that, it's like the right of travel. I'm speaking to most of us out here where we have one single vehicle. If we're lucky enough to have a couple of them, it's okay. Um, but we don't haul people around. We don't haul produce. We don't haul commercial goods. Okay. These laws is even written this way, but the states and the federal government has taken them and twisted them for their own benefit when it comes to the money. That's just like we're going to find out, and I already know this because I've had several people that I've got in contact with and finally broke through the barrier of what they can and can't say, and found ways to say things that they should not have told me. But it's like our national forest and all of our so-called land that our government owns for our next generations to enjoy. Okay, that's only part of the tale. The other part of the tale is a lot of these lands are plumb full of minerals, plumb full of things that is worth a lot of money, a whole lot of money. They know this when they done what they done. Um, People, the few people that I did talk to, they put me in directions where I had to go search. But when I started seeing why these big pieces of land, millions of acres, are held and owned by the government, they could tell us that one thing to make us rejoice and be happy that our grandchildren and children are going to be able to run around in the woods. But when you go and you look on record at these places, the geological mapping that they went through, and the mineral rights that they went through, and the timber rights they went through, that's all the reason why they own them. Okay, it's another bullshit lie, covered up with a little bit of feel good. Okay, but there's massive places here in the United States that's plumb full of natural gas and oil, plumb full of gold deposits. Think about the big gold rush. Think about them lands. Think about them places in California, Oregon, Oklahoma that got sucked up by the government. All of these places has something. like there's a big bunch of parks out here in West Virginia. A lot of what's in the ground here in West Virginia is natural gas, oil, and a whole lot of good spring water. Aquifers. Hundreds of millions of gallons of clear drinking water that's been sitting under our earth for God knows how long. I got a well on our property, and I can go somewhere and get a drink of water from say a public water fountain, or go to some business somewhere and maybe get a drink out of their faucets. And man, it's like I drink it because it's wet, satisfying, cures the thirst, but it's almost like swallowing a fucking turd. But anyway, I ain't gonna stand here long. I figured if I could get that on there, I gotta check it. Hopefully it ain't in 3D. Like it's just weird how this camera works. If it is in 3D, I apologize. But mainly it's the words for everybody to listen to this. Have an understanding this is the trap we've done put ourselves into, and the only way that we won't get our actual true freedoms and rights back is Trump keeps moving forward in what he's claiming, and trust the plan. Okay, I think myself, we've trusted long enough, and there's supposed to be a 6-point schedule to why things have to be handled the way they're handled. And I just don't think there's ever going to be enough people woke up, because they're so in tune with what they've got, thinking that that's it, and they wouldn't know how to conform or go in any other direction other than what they've been told since birth. But that's just my opinion, and everybody's got an asshole, and everybody's got an opinion. But peace to all y'all, and glad to see all y'all. I'm still above dirt. I have my ups and downs. Other than that, like I said, it's done got really stupid. And if you listen to the words that Larken Rose lays down in front of you, and you just think about what's going on now, this was done back, I'm thinking 4, maybe 5 years ago, maybe a little longer, when he done that gospel known as government. And that's just like the song by Hank Williams Jr., Country Boy Can't Survive. Go listen to that song. That song's over 30-some years old, 40, close. I've heard music out of other people, rock groups, country, from 15, 20 years ago that speaks of these days that we're living in right now, but they seem far enough ahead or already felt that way then as we do now. So this waking up thing, listen to another situation, another theory that this individual goes through and says that everything's already been done. Okay? This is almost a biblical theory. Everything's already been hashed out. Everything has been fixed. And we're living in the times of watching it play out and come to that grand place that this individual speaks of at the end of this, the end of the tunnel, the open window, the light at the end of the tunnel. But at the same time, a lot of people don't have no clue on how much evil is walking around them. And I've had this conversation with other people too, and I can't remember where I heard it or how it come about, but I went to a church in Virginia, that I really got into, and was baptized there. Years later, I had a dream about the same church. Everybody in the church was, they was being rushed in on by people wearing all black, tactical, face covered, everything, machine guns, and we was all trying to get out of that church in this dream, running, frantic. But at the same time, later on in years, I understood what that meant for me, that there's going to be a lot of these places that we've done set in our head and our hearts as something that it is not. We think it is. We want to believe it is, but it's not. I think personally, once we start realizing that we could live, let's see, how's the old saying, or it's a religious saying too, live in the world but not of the world, okay? When we realize that our forefathers had it perfect, land, property, grow your own food, be self-sufficient. I've watched the tiny home thing, the movement of people wanting to know where their food comes from. Watch this fella Justin Rhodes, another fella, his wife and his daughter, Lumont Acres, the Idaho Hillbillies. They're showing us in their own way what we really need to get back to. And a lot of people is not going to be ready for that either, because some people, I'm pretty much a fat, lazy fella. I get motivated to do things, I get it done, but then other things I don't. But once we realize that we almost have to go back 100 years or better to have a life, it don't mean that we can't enjoy what we've got out here in this technical world, as long as you, when you see it, you just don't bite the poison apple. You see it first and have enough common sense to reason through what it says and what it really means and what it could turn into, because there's good and bad in everything, okay? The weighing of the balances, the yin and the yang. I'm not going to go too much further on all into this, and me and my old lady's been buying silver, and I do believe that silver is going to end up being the new gentleman's gold. Whether anybody wants to see this or not, it's just, there's a few times in my life that I wished I would have paid attention to what was being hammered at me in my head. This time with the silver, I have, because I understand that silver's been around since creation of man. So is gold, okay? This fiat currency that we're playing in, it's falling apart. Trump's making sure of that, whether anybody can see that or not. The outcomes, I looked at the accomplishments of Trump, and you can look it up on Google or anywhere. He come in, I think there was like 20 or 25 things that he wanted to accomplish for the American people. And now it's well over 100 that he's accomplished for the American people. For the American people, not the gospel known as the government. Peace to all y'all. I hope this is good. I hope it ain't in, like I said, 3D. Peace.